Hi, a friend of mine told me about the Northern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services and that there was a graveyard behind here. Now, as you can see, these buildings aren't in use right now, and there was a big building over there, as Dee, you can pan over there, that they tore down in 1949. And this is when the mentally ill people weren't valued as worthy in society. We wanted to pay kind of a tribute to the 400 people that are accounted for, and we're going to take you down to the graveyard. But I wanted to come here and explain a little bit about what they did then and give you a little bit of history. That's why I have a notebook, because I can't remember all of these things. Now, people weren't valued as worthy in society, so families would bring them here and they were left completely alone. So basically, they were inmates back then, and that's what they were called, were inmates. So they weren't just people that came here, they were locked up and they were inmates. So what happened inside of the mental institution when they were there? First of all, you were brought here if you were, let's just say you suffered from crying fits, or you didn't belong in society, or you had a form of depression after you had a child, and you weren't properly looked at in society. They would bring you here, and you would stay here, and they would not come and visit.
And they had the miners come here because they got sick on the mercury and the lead.
Yes.
And the other chemical. What was it for breaking down gold? I'll come up with it.
I don't remember. Now I have a lot of notes here, and there's no way I can remember all of them. But one of the procedures that they used to do here back then was put the victims, I call them victims, okay, and inmates, in a cold ice bath. That was one of the treatments that they did. They also did a trephination. They would cut a hole in the skull using a saw or a bore, and they thought this would relieve headaches, illness, or even demonic possession. Bizarro. Then the other thing that they did to these poor people is bloodletting and purging. It was believed that an internal biochemical relationship was behind mental illness. So the bleeding, the purging, the vomiting were thought to correct this. That's the other thing that they would do. Isolation, that was the number one thing that they did to everyone. And the sanitary conditions within the psychiatric institute, no, it's called the State Asylum, is isolation, and we already know about that. And so they would put you in a room and leave you there. And your family couldn't visit you.
And
no
strap
one
you down.
You. And the sanitary, I'm just going to go over that again. So you're put into that. Then they did insulin coma therapy. The doctors would deliberately put patients into a low blood sugar coma, and they believed that the large fluctuations in insulin levels could cure the brain. So that was the other thing they did. They had no medication. They had cortisol therapy. They induced seizures with a drug. Okay, this drug would cause seizures, which they found out when they were doing it then, that this was causing all kinds of muscle problems and broken bones. But they did do it, and they did it several times a week to each patient. What about a lobotomy? Does anyone remember the lobotomy? Most people remember the lobotomy, where they stuck
They put it in the eye.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
A piece of metal about this long. They would stick it in the side of the eye and bore it up into they would bore it up into I can't remember what it is, but anyways, the central cortex
Frontal lobe,
or something.
but it was Egas Muniz.
Yes, he was the Pulitzer Prize winner in physiology and medicine in 1949 is when he stopped doing it. But in the 1940s and 1950s, this was the #1 thing to do. It consisted of surgically removing the connectors behind the frontal cortex and lobes of the brain. This could be done within 5 minutes. Now, some people it worked with, some people it didn't work with. So that was a huge method that they used until 1950s. Now, the inmates that also were here farmed the land, and they also buried the dead. That was also their job. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the graveyard that is now a historical monument and show you what's going on down there. Okay, so it's now a historical monument. So we're going to drive down there because, as you can see, if Dee can pan around, this was huge and nothing was in sparks. So this was a huge area that they've now used some of the buildings, and some of the buildings you cannot see at this time. So these are also old, and this one right here you can't even get into. So I didn't feel comfortable trying to come here and try to get inside this State Asylum and use our dowsing rods or things like that, because I felt that we really needed to give respect to all these people that were out here and what happened to them and tell their story. So as we keep walking, you can see the new buildings that are out here, and they still do use them. And it is not, like I said, it is not the original building, which I'll show some pictures of at the end of the video of what it really looked like.
Yeah.
So we're going to say over and out on this one, and then what we're going to do is go down to the graveyard.
All right. Some of what's going on right now. We're going to say over and out. Sierra Regional Center. That's what that is. That's what it is now. Okay.
Oh, I
Adios.
got all these
Ciao,
notes.
ciao.
Too many notes. Okay, ciao, ciao. Hi, okay, so we're standing outside the cemetery right now, and of course we want to do our protection work. And so we already said our prayer. Okay, we have our prayer in here.
Yep.
And today we're going to be using holy water. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to do a little on D up here.
Appreciate that.
A little holy water.
Yep.
And we're also going to take our shell in as respects to the dead that live here to give back. So we're on our way in. I'm going to put this away.
Wait, you got to read your poem.
I already read it.
When?
When we were out here. We both read it.
Oh, that was a personal thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
So let me put that away.
Thought you were going to do it again.
All right. As I said before, I have a list. Here we go, of stuff that go here.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go in.
Yep.
And this is the cemetery from the Nevada Insane Asylum.
Universe, I respect all that rest here as we enter, as usual.
Bring peace.
Sort of just
We're here in peace, not to play or use any equipment.
We're going to use my dowsing rods, though.
This is a place, and there's an obelisk. I believe that's what it's called.
Well,
So
yes, it is. Good.
we're gonna go look at that. This started out as a neat and orderly graveyard, okay, which eventually became a mass grave site. The inmates were in charge of these burials. This became a mass grave site. Some were buried in pine boxes, cedar, but most of them were buried in cardboard boxes on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they would stomp them into the ground, and then once they were stomped into the ground, they would put a big hill of dirt over the top because there were so many graves that they couldn't go into the ground. So you can see this in 1882 and 1945. This was the resting place of more than 767 people. although 767 names are known, their exact location in the cemetery is not. They are thought to be up to 400 additional interments whose names have been lost in history. Now, when I did my research, I found out that there could be as many as 1,000. Now, this cemetery is very small. Here are all the names that they did somehow find. They actually found them through
records
that they did have here, but they did not keep very good records whatsoever. As you can see on the ground, they have unidentified, relocated September 2010 from the second cemetery. Okay, so these are all unidentified that they have around here. So during the 1940s, a large pipeline was put in here in the Sparks area. Now this cemetery, of course, is a lot bigger than what we're seeing right now. And over there, if you can see it, that is where all the graves are buried still. Okay, so I wanted to say that if you know anything about the Opera House in Virginia City, Mr. What was the name of the opera house? Piper's Opera House, famous for being ghosts. His wife was put here. So that's also kind of cool. But this is just so small. But so they came in and they built this pipeline through here in 1972. And when they built this pipeline, they started finding bodies. Bodies would come up, heads, you know, legs, feet, stuff like that, as they started to, you know, excavate and build the pipeline. So that's how they started to find out about all of these unearthed graves that were just everywhere.
Desecrated.
They even got, even the playground they took out because they knew that if it was close enough to the major cemetery that there would be bones under that. So they tore the playground down and it is no longer part of that. There was a bill signed, okay, by Governor Gibbons in 2009. Okay, 2009, that's not too far away, but it was enough that achieved status that this was now going to be a historical cemetery. So this is historical, although all of this stuff you see around here, you could be living on top of bones. If people treat a cemetery like trash, and like this, can you imagine what it was like to actually live inside of the prison that's located over there? Now we're also really far. We had to drive way down here just to get to this spot.
About a half a mile.
So a half a mile before we even got there to this spot. God knows what's buried everywhere else. So we thought we'd come and show you that they are paying tribute to this, which makes me feel really happy. We are going to leave a shell here to give our respects and to not go in there at night or use any kind of equipment or go traipsing around to find the ghosts. There are a lot of ghosts that have been seen through here, or apparitions, or fogs that have been seen from a lot of people in this whole area going all the way up. So I hope you enjoyed this. I have my notes, sorry, but I definitely couldn't remember all of that.
Pretty cool.
So thank you so much, and this is the only thing we got, and that's a cemetery.
And that's beautiful. Everybody that was laid to rest here is kind of get some recognition for just letting people of the area know that there is history over here. You know, from miners to anything that was developing around this area, from railroad to the mines, all that type of stuff. Here was the popular spot for the crazies. What they called them.
They weren't. A lot of them weren't.
They weren't. They were just
No.
mental patients.
They just, if there was anything wrong with them, they just wanted to put them
Get
away.
rid of them.
They didn't fit into society.
Yeah.
So they might not even have been crazy.
Yeah. Epileptic.
So it's just sad. It's just really, really sad.
Yeah.
So wasn't
didn't know
going
how.
to do anything out here except for I got myself loaded into all my notes.
That's okay.
And
Perfect.
had to go that route. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.
Yes.
And over and out.
Okay. Paranormal Extraction. Catch you next time.